Hi, my name's Kelly Gilson, and I'm the Executive Director at United Way Oxford. I invite you to join us on our new Let's Talk Local Oxford series. We'll share everything about United Way Oxford, our work, our partners, our investments, and how everything we do is designed to create positive social change right here at home in Oxford County. Not only do we want to share, but we hope to inspire you to join in our efforts and learn ways in which you too can show your local love. So, let's talk local, Oxford.
Woodstock Libro Credit Union is the proud sponsor of Let's Talk Local Oxford.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Local Oxford. And a special thanks to Libro Credit Union for their sponsorship that makes all of this possible. So thank you so much to our wonderful Libro partners. Today, we will be chatting with one of our new funded partners, Strong Start. And joining us from the organization is Machelle Denison and Lisa Williams. And they're here to talk about their Strong Start's Letters, Sounds, and Words program, which is what United Way Oxford is funding this year for some of our Oxford schools. But we are so excited to learn more. So let me welcome Machelle and Lisa. And ladies, maybe you could just introduce yourselves a little bit for our guests.
Thank you very much, Kelly, and thank you for this opportunity to talk with you today. I'm Machelle Denison, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer for Strong Start. I've been with Strong Start for over 13 years and very proudly leading the organization and growing our programs.
And I'm Lisa Williams, and my role at Strong Start is the Director of Program, and I'm responsible for all three of our programs, Baby Connections, Get Ready for School, and the Letter, Sounds, and Words program. So my role is to manage and supervise the program implementation and development, as well as to support program expansion and community partnership. And I have been with Strong Start now for almost 2 years.
Excellent. Well, we're thrilled about the expansion because that has meant that Oxford County has been able to benefit from the program. So I want to get specifically to the program, but maybe just before we go there, could you give us a little bit of the organizational history and that who you are, what you do, why it really matters across, I think right now, really a larger part of southwestern Ontario, correct?
That's correct, Kelly. We're actually in 8 regions in Ontario. Strong Start started in 2001 with the vision of Lyle Hallman. Lyle Hallman was a construction titan in the Waterloo region as well as a philanthropist. And he believed strongly in the importance of children learning to read at a young age. And he also believed in community engagement and really that idea that it takes a village to raise the child. And he understood deeply that being able to read was an essential life skill and really led to better quality of life, higher economic success of a community, and so on. So he looked for a program where volunteers would help young children learn to read and couldn't find one himself, and engaged with Linda Sylvester, who was just retiring from the Waterloo Region District School Board. And Linda and Lyle launched what was then the Strong Start Project in 2001 in one school in Kitchener with handmade games and activities. And today we're in over 350 elementary schools across 8 regions in Ontario. We have over 3,000 active volunteers who give nearly 50,000 hours of volunteer time.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That is so amazing. We love the impact you're having on children and the connection to volunteerism, to really build it from the community, but with the tools. And so we were so excited to be able to fund your program this year. And now to learn a little more about the program, to start, one of the things that really, I think, caught us, and I think it's important to share, was in your application, you spoke about 1 in every 4 Canadian children entering grade 1 is significantly behind their peers when it comes to reading. That's a really high number, 1 in 4.
It is, and that is, that has been consistent. And it's been made even more, I think the numbers are even higher given the impact of COVID-19, given the interruptions in classroom learning, the various experiences at home with online learning. Parents did their very best, but parents were working at home and to be able to support children with online learning, especially the very young, because they really benefit from the in-class learning. They're not developmentally able to really engage in an online environment. They miss the socialization, which is really key in their early development. So, there is market evidence of the impact of the pandemic in classrooms today, and so there's a real sense of urgency. And we've trained hundreds of volunteers during the pandemic. They are at the ready to help children. I think they're all eager to have an impact and to be able to help catch those children in those early grades, to make a difference.
It's fantastic that you were able to keep up with your training, to be prepared to put volunteers back into schools as soon as that was a possibility.
Absolutely. And I mean, our program was essentially quiet for 2 years. We did turn our attention to creating some at-home resources for families. So that's on our website. They're free downloadable games and activities that you can do with your children, with items commonly found around the home or in nature to help promote their literacy development. We actually promote them during summer break as well, but we had quite a significant uptake in the use of those materials because parents were desperate. They were looking for things to do with their children. They couldn't go. Programs were closed. Services were closed in communities. So that is one of the things we did during the pandemic to help support them till we get back into schools.
Well, it really did. I mean, they were at such a disadvantage. All families, really, from young to those in high school, like the impact on children and youth was certainly... it will be lasting, but if there's an opportunity for us to wrap around, very much like it takes a village, and if we can wrap around children and make sure that they are brought up to speed, we know education is really a critical piece in being able to read. If you don't have those literacy skills, you're going to struggle not just through school, but really through life in many ways. So can you tell us a little bit about how the program works, and what schools you're in, and how you find your volunteers and train them, and how the schools identify the children that are going to participate?
That's a great question, and there's so much that we do in communities to support schools and to support our volunteer recruitment. So we have trained over 800 volunteers this year. So we do have community members ready to support the children in the schools, and the schools do make the decision on the children that participate in the program. So they really know best where the children are, what is available to the school in terms of resources and support. So they make those decisions. However, it is all based on assessment. So there is a pre and post assessment that is done with the child to really know where they're at and to know where to begin the program. So that helps the volunteer, and that helps the school, and that helps the child. So our program has 4 strands, is what we call them. So there's letters, sounds, words, and building words. And they really represent that foundational literacy development. That's really key to understand. We help children, and volunteers help children learn those foundational literacy skills. So identifying those letters, understanding the sounds that each one of those letters makes, starting to blend those sounds together to build those words, and then looking at words in context and having some time to read together. Volunteer recruitment comes in many different ways. Schools themselves will look to volunteers in their community, so they really know, who they can connect with, because every school is different depending on their location.
That is true.
And it's really important that we have that conversation. We provide the schools with a media kit, with a newsletter insert, information they can put on their website. We will go out to different events that schools are having. So maybe a literacy night or a kindergarten registration, for example. So
that's a big one.
That's a huge one. So being there as a strong start, especially when we're starting out, right? To really share with those communities what we do and what this program represents. And we really encourage also recruitment of volunteers from the larger community. So it may not be that immediate school, but there may be a community group that's interested in doing some volunteer work. It might be a business in the community, and it may not be the school that's down the street from where they live. but it's in their community and they really want to give back. And so volunteers will come from there as well.
That's a really great piece of information for us and for us at United Way to have on hand, because as you know, we are blessed to be able to work with so many workplaces that are partners, that are supporters, that care about the community that they live, work, and play in, and they want to make a difference. And so this could be, for some of those companies or small businesses, it might be a really great fit where someone could just, pop out for roughly how many hours a week would it be for a volunteer?
So we ask a volunteer to give a minimum amount of 30 minutes per week. And that will support one child in one strand. Okay. However, some of our volunteers will do a half a day every day, or they may do, an hour on a Friday afternoon. Whatever works for their schedule. The other thing that's really interesting about the volunteer experience is that our rounds are for 10 weeks. So when you're giving your gift of time to volunteer, it's for 10 weeks. So that is really also very nice because it gives some flexibility to what a volunteer is doing in other parts of their life as well.
Right. It's a very manageable piece of time and you can schedule accordingly. And while the impact and the reward for the volunteers is so important here, we know that at the end of the day they would go home feeling like they've really made a difference in a child's life. The impact on the child itself, herself, is huge. We know that so many families that come from disadvantaged backgrounds struggle with school and with the connections in school. And your program is another way in which families and children really can connect and build and grow, isn't it?
That's a really great point, because there is growth in terms of literacy and understanding those foundational skills that I've already described. But there's also that part of having an opportunity to make a connection with a caring adult, building that relationship, and having a coach, because they're volunteer coaches, right. Really be that person that you meet with once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, and they talk to you about the literacy and building those skills, but also just about you and that child's confidence and the stories that we hear from the teachers about that child's confidence when they go back into the classroom and the hand starts to go up and the participation starts to increase and they start to take some risks in their learning because they feel like they can do it because they have that time.
We have said for many, many years, children and youth are one of our 3 pillars. We invest heavily there. We know that if we can make a difference to children and youth and their families and give them the supports and the tools they need, they can thrive. And one caring adult, one can change a child's life forever. We certainly do know that. The other thing that I think is so fantastic about your program is the financial return on investment. So while this is a fun and engaging program, it is absolutely a learning program. But there is a financial return on investment for having these kinds of programs, for investing in these schools, making them happen. It pays off, doesn't it?
It does, actually. This has been researched extensively. Dr. James Heckman is someone who's spent his life, he's a Nobel Prize winner economist from the University of Chicago, and he does and continues to do extensive research on the economic impact of early learning, early child development, specifically early literacy, and the return is minimum $1 to $12. So if we can catch children early, that is when the remediation is the least expensive, versus when they're 18 or in their 20s, where we look at unemployment, crime rates, healthcare costs, civic engagements. These things are far more expensive later on, a community that has a high literacy level, their economic success is impacted. So there are lots of long-term benefits to early literacy and healthy child development.
Right. And with so many of the social human services and programs that we fund, really, we know if we can get ahead, if we can be proactive and preventative in our investments and in the services and supports, we can really avoid not just the cost of not being, impactful early on, but really the societal cost, the human cost, the struggles that people face that really, if we were ahead of the game, they wouldn't have to. And so that's one of the other things that we love about your program. So now, can you tell me, ladies, how many schools here in Oxford County are you in currently, and how many children are you expecting to assist this year?
We were in 8 schools in the Oxford County. This past year, we had 75 children participate in our program and 26 volunteers volunteering and supporting and giving the gift of their time. We are growing. We are continuing to partner with new schools in conversation with our school board partners. So building that capacity and those relationships is continuing to grow in your region.
Excellent. And so, although, school currently is out for the summer, but it won't be too long before we're in back to school mode. And for community members who are listening perhaps at home and thinking that they would really love to do something to help in their community and to help with children, how could they get involved?
Well, they can log on to our website, strongstart.ca. They could sign up for volunteer coach training. Every volunteer receives 4 hours of training prior to working with a child. So that is, and we've spoken about the volunteer commitment, minimum 30 minutes once a week for 10 weeks. There's also a role at the school called site coordinator, and that is can be shared with a staff member, but also a community volunteer. So that is for someone who would like maybe a small leadership role at a school as a volunteer, helping to coordinate the schedule of the volunteers, perhaps assisting with those pre and post assessments, managing the program materials and that kind of thing. And that they would just contact the school, and that sometimes is a role that's difficult to fill at a school, especially schools are still being impacted by COVID as well. And so, they may want to have Strong Start in their school, they may have that opportunity, but just to get it up and going, having volunteers, having that site coordinator to help assist in supporting the coordination of it, it really is not a big time commitment. The average time commitment for the site coordinator is 15 hours a year. So it is not an onerous task, but it is an extremely important one and pivotal to the success of the program.
Well, we know the folks across Oxford County are a caring and committed group, and people really do want to give back to make a difference in the community that they call home. I know that there is someone out there listening that will be thinking, this has my name written all over it. I could do that, because people really do understand it takes a village. And so we encourage people who want to get involved to please reach out and make those connections and help change the future of a child's life. It is changing their future trajectory. It's a wonderful opportunity. It's a little piece of magic, quite frankly. Ladies, thank you so much for coming in and joining us today, and thank you for the work you do for the children in not just Oxford County, but across all of the areas that you do work. We know it changes lives, and we are ever so grateful that you do it, and we're proud to be able to help fund the work here in Oxford County to change the future outcomes for some of our children. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And so I'd like to ask people to please stay tuned for future episodes, and we'll continue to talk about some of the investments and the partnerships that United Way Oxford makes, and how we work together with our partners to create change and opportunity in our community. And now more than ever, we are truly working to create positive impact across our community. It truly does take a village. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Email mike@unitedwayoxford.ca. Mike is the keeper of all things podcast here at United Way Oxford, and he would be happy to help you. Once again, I would like to thank Libro Credit Union for their generous support and commitment to our work in the community. And thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Let's Talk Local, Oxford. Take care. Thank you for listening to Let's Talk Local, Oxford. If you would like to learn more about United Way Oxford, our work, our engagement, our volunteer opportunities, our partners, or to even make a donation, please visit unitedwayoxford.ca or call our office. We love to chat, and we really love visitors too. If, however, you find yourself needing a hand to locate a program or a service, please call 211, our information and referral service. They're there to connect you to local supports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Remember, 211, they are there to help. Until next time, join with us by showing your local love. We all could use a little more of that. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk Local Oxford, proudly sponsored by Woodstock Libro Credit Union.